Hello everyone to round 8 of F4 in season 3. Round the circuit Paul Ricard in France. Could be a very pivotal, important race for Mr. Sounds in the Red Bull. The possibility of sealing the Drivers' Championship today. Needs to outscore TJW in the Haas by 6 points and Larsh in the AlphaTauri by 1 to be crowned champion. I'm just going to quickly invite and then Trocker and get back into the session. See who's first. So Larsh is first out on track. Only Bada has came out on the mediums. It'll be very interesting to see what strategy all of these guys decide to choose. It is a very harsh track on the soft compound tyres, especially through turn 12 where Bose constantly screaming on the left hand tyres. Interested to see if any drivers suffer from overheating in that part of the track, which I imagine that at least one person will end up suffering from. And Larsh coming around the first person to start his lap. And dipping into turn 1, and cautious not to invalidate. Track undulates, doesn't invalidate. As Larsh, a decent first few corners. Into turns 3 and 4. Awkward through turn 5. Try and power down through 6. Flick it through 7. And DRS open onto the Mistral straight. And climbing, got a pick braking zone into the chicane, clip the inside curb. Elects not to take too much curb through the second part of the chicane. Definitely can make up a lot more time if you hop across those curbs. And up to senior corner, not attacking the inside curb either. Into Labose. Holding in 5th, back end doesn't want to step out. Off camber, turn 12. Again, nicely done from Larsh. Through turn 14. And into very difficult final corner. It's going to be a decent banker this from Larsh. DRS open, up to the line, runs out of ERS, and it is a 29.5 is the target. For everyone else, Bada on the mediums invalidated, so that lap will not count. Martinelli does a 31.1. We've got Jack is next in the second McLaren. First start, up to the line, it is a 30.5. As Mr. Sounds came into the pits in his first lap, and Johnny starting his first lap as Kevin goes P1 for 28.6, nearly 9 tenths clear of Larsh. Is a big gap, well 8 tenths clear. His coming fin has gone P5 with a 32 flat. And Johnny first sector 22.5. And the Red Bull sort of might have a bit of traffic in front of him with the McLaren. Hopefully won't catch him. It's a chicane. Using all the curb. Very nice chicane from Johnny. And the middle sector split, 50 flat, middle sector split. And flat out for senior. No worries through there. constant understeer through Mabose into turn 12. So rotation done nicely. TJW has gone P3, just 200ths behind Larsh. And round to final corner from Johnny. There's quite a bit of curve on the exit, but up to the line comes the Red Bull, and it's P4 over 30 flat. We've got Aaron Trocker on mediums is invalidated. Sounds on out. Is there anyone on a lap? We've got Bonnie is on a lap in the Mercedes. The 50.2 middle sector split. And make sure to pick up both apexes through Labose. Through 10-14 comes Bonnie. Back end wanting to step out. Going to come up to the line is the Mercedes, and it's going to be a 29.8, and it's enough for P4. So Adam is invalidated. On board Mr. Silence very close to invalidating through turn 2. Don't want to be going that far out wide. And clunky end to sector 1, 22.5. First sector splits don't matter a huge amount considering that it's very much tied in with sector 2. Want to be looking at second sector split through the chicane and up to the second sector split is a 49.9, so purple middle sector along the two parts of the Mistral straight. And the tyres still in check for Mr. Silence to get through this final sector. Through 10-12, staying off that curb on the exit. Into the final corner, down to first gear. Make sure you got the car rotated, and it's going to be up to the line, and it's going to be a 29.9, so not a great final sector at all from Mr. Silence. But Kevin out front in the Mercedes, looking a bit untouchable in this present moment. Next person to settle up will be Miles in the Ferrari. Very nicely done from Labose. He's ran out of VRS quite early on as Miles, and might have made a little error somewhere to be running out of VRS that early. But up to the line, Ferrari goes P7 with a 30.4. Next will be Adam. And the AlphaTauri out the final corner. Up to the line, and it's P2 for Adam with a 29.4. Joins his teammate in the top 3. Emma Trocker and Team Cool pretty close to each other, and Team Cool's going to have to watch on this lap actually, with the Ferrari in front of him, because he is on softs compared to the Ferrari on mediums. Might get a bit of a nice toe though going down the Mistral straight. So very good first sector, 22.3, and he is going to be close enough, I think, here to the Ferrari to get a nice toe. To chicane. Goes well through the chicane. He's going to get another nice bit of toe off the Ferrari. It's 49.9, so a bit of dirty air maybe being affected in there. He's looking at a very, very good lap here though. At the moment. So it's a big chunk of curb through turn 12. And through the penultimate corner. On the brakes for turn 15. One final bit of toe. Up to the line, and it's P7 with a 30 flat. As M&C and then Troco did a 31.5 on those mediums. It's a fairly method lap on the mediums. Bada goes P13, 31.6. As Larson, all that as well, has gone P2 with a 28.7, getting close to Kevin's time but not beating it. And there's TJW, one of only three people who can deny Mr. Silent's title today, goes P3 with a 29 flat. Bonnie's 4 attempts up through sector 1. Down towards the chicane. And turned in nicely. In front of purple middle sector from Bonnie, 5 attempts up with a 49.7. Back end nearly going on in Frusine. So just got to make sure they still have enough grip in those tyres come the end of the lap. Out the final corner from Bonnie, up to the line. It's going to be an improvement, and it's going to be an improvement for P4 of a 29.2. Mr. Silence going down in P6. And wanting to get further up. Comes on into the chicane. So down nicely. Chunk of curb on the exit. It's like the split is 2 tenths up in the moment. The 2 tenths wouldn't be enough to improve his position. It's going to be a very strong final sector from the Red Bull. Getting very close on that exit, using all the track. Again, using as much road as he can possibly use. Into the final corner. DRS open. So run to the line, and it's enough only to improve by 1 position. It's a 4/10 improvement. Martin only is 2 tenths up at the moment in the Renault. And 14. Bringing it nicely through the final corner. Up to the line, we want to improve on P11, and goes P10. A 6/10 improvement. And Queenfair is one of the only people on a lap at the moment. Is just under a 10th up. Going down in P14. It's a Haas driver. And you're very close to invalidating out of turn 12. Through the final corner. Is this going to be an improvement for Cutting Fame? Up to the line. It's a 2/10 improvement, it's up to a P12. And Rigby is invalidated 2/10 down, that'll be Rigby's last run, I think. We've got Larsh, Perth and Middle Sector, 10th up. Looks to be between Kevin and Larsh this for pole position. Oh, he's just a bit more. He's about 100 more if he wants to dislodge Kevin and the Mercedes off that pole position. Rounds the final corner. Up to the line. Is it enough for Larsh to take provisional pole? It is enough to take provisional pole by a 10th and a half. And Kevin is not coming out, so unless someone else can find a big improvement, I think that is Larsh on pole position here in France. See who's going to be next to finish a lap. Badder has just finished a lap and gone P12. And then cutting the track. So Rigby has gone again, 7/10 up. Is the Williams at the moment. Coming down in 15th is Rigby. We'll come back to him in a few moments. See who's going to be next across the line. It's going to be Team Co's 2 seconds down. And first just across the line is going to be Adam. He's going to improve. He's on a lap aiming to improve. (10-12) again, getting very close to the limits of the track. Maybe I can Adam put his AlphaTauri, can he put it up there with Larsh maybe? Closer towards that front row, up to the line. It's a small improvement, it's enough to take the position off Mr. Silence though, and demote the championship leader to P6. Rigby had bought his lap, so Rigby will start P15. TJW lock up into the final corner, nearly runs wide. It's going to need a big improvement if he wants to improve on P3. Up to the line. It's a 10th improvement to purple final sector. Gets into the 28s. It's not enough to improve. And Bonnie aborted his lap. And Badder spins in the McLaren. In the end, that is the end for qualifying, and Larsh needed to find a big improvement, and he very much found it. In the end, he takes pole by a 10th of a second. Does Larsh needs to make sure that he does not get outscored by Mr. Silence today. It's Larsh on pole, Kevin P2, TJW P3, Bonnie P4, Adam P5, championship leader Mr. Silence down in P6, Johnny P7 in the other Red Bull, Team Kill P8, Miles P9, Martinoli P10, and Jack Badder, Cunning Fern, Eamon Trocker and Rigby all outside the top 10, but will all get a free choice of tyre as well. Eamon Trocker did his lap on the medium tyre. Bit surprised to see Rigby down in P15. Not usually that far down, and notice as well, Kevin's P2 lap was on his only run. And saved a lot of sets of softs as Kevin for this race. Whereas Lash been 3 sets, and if Lash went balanced, it means he has no fresh softs for the race. But yeah, I don't imagine they're going to be needing those softs, as it's probably going to be, for people inside the top 10, a soft, medium strategy. And for people outside the top 10, it will probably be the medium to hards, or maybe hard to medium, depending on which way they want to choose their allocation. Could even have some people inside the top 10 try and do a one-stop from the softs to the hards, albeit that will be very, very audacious, considering the degradation that the softs have around this track. You're prepped and they start out on the formation lap. Let's see, so obviously everyone inside the top 10 on their quali softs, and then out of the 5 outside of the top 10, Badder and Cunnington have both opted to start on the softs, obviously wanted to make up positions at the start. So these are the conditions for Mr. Silence down in P6 if he wants to seal the Tier 4 title today. He would have to outscore TJW by 6 points, and he only has to outscore Larsh by 1, so it's quite... if he wins the race today, Mr. Silence, there is no chance that anyone can catch him. Even if TJW finishes second with the fastest lap, he cannot match Mr. Silence's race wins. So it could be a goal from Mr. Silence today. Doesn't have to risk it, but might be that fourth. If he does know that he can wrap up the title today, then he might want to go and do it. I'm very interested to see what he can do from P6. Of course, I think he finished second from P6 in Baku. Of course, kept himself out of trouble. Be hoping to repeat that. Not Larsh. Can Larsh convert this pole position into the win? Larsh hasn't won a race so far this season. Decent camera angle. 3, 4, 5 red lights in Paul Ricard. They go out quite quickly. It's a decent start from Larsh from P1. And see, the person who's made the best start is Bonnie in the Mercedes from P4. Bonnie going down the inside of turn 1. Not quite able to make it stick as famous Kevin in the Mercedes going round. It was. But Larsh has kept hold of the lead. Bonnie with an amazing start to get up into P2. TJW is in P3. Not quite sure who that up is up in P4, which Ferrari that is. It's miles up into P4, runs a bit wide through turn 7. Behind him is Mr. Sands, who's kept himself out of trouble at the start of that race. And Jack is on the mediums up into P6, so good start from the McLaren. Moving up 5 places, as with Miles, making superb start. Person excellent start. Rigby up into P9, making up 6 places. Cunnington and Kevin going side by side. Cunnington has damage. So has Kevin evaded damage in the Mercedes? I think he has. Obviously down to P10 from that front row start, and not the start that he will have been looking for. Again, Adams down 8 places, hasn't got damage as well. And Team Hill does have damage in the Alfa Romeo, down in P15 and last. As they come to the end of lap 1, it's going to be leading the way is Lash by just under a second ahead of Bonnie, and then it is DJW in the Haas just ahead of Miles in the Ferrari, and just behind them is Mr. Silence in P5, and then after that there's a fairly sizable gap back to Jack and the McLaren, obviously on those mediums, so not going to have the pace against the softs initially. Just a bit wide through turn 5. Coming on to Eastdale Straight. Johnny, who's ended up actually losing a position off the start, trying to get close to Martinelli, can't quite do it. As Kevin has a look on. Someone there. No, Chris, all that isn't. Oh, Mr. Santos has made a mistake. Red Bull's on. Is there any damage? He's not got any damage. He's fell down to P12. Mr. Silence is. Oh, it's a big snap through. Scene takes out the polystyrene board. As Jack has got a 3-second penalty already, exceeding track limits, and TJW as well got past Bonnie. So get back up into P2. Marsh, that's the fastest lap of the race. We've got more yellow flags, and it is Badder in the McLaren who has gone for a spin. He's got going again. Miles picks up a 3-second penalty for exceeding track limits. As has Cunnington there. Yeah, so 3 drivers already at the end of lap 2 already picking up penalties, as Miles trying to muscle his way past the Mercedes, and Bonning's a bit aggressive from the Ferrari. Bonnie is going to try and come. Is Bonnie going to try and come straight back at the Ferrari here? Down the Michel straight, turns the overtake button on. Long way down the straight. Can't quite get back ahead of the Ferrari. Miles up into P3 after starting, I think around about P10. And P9 in this race as Team Hills came into the pits to retire after that lap 1 damage. It was a long way off the pack, so don't quite blame him for that one. And the front Lash has already pulled a 2.7 second lead over TJW. Penalty there as well for Kevin in the Mercedes. Needs to close up the gap to Martinelli in front of him. This intriguing battle now for P3. As Bonnie's going to try and come back at Miles down the pit straight. Ball's in front of the Ferrari going into turn 1. Gets to slow down and retakes that P3. And these two are battling so much that Jack has managed to course up on those mediums and has brought Johnny along with him. Well, again, Miles looking for a move into 10-6. And now coming again down the Michel straight, wanting to point the overtake. As is Miles, is going to look for the move. Thinks better of it, doesn't need to risk the wing at this stage of the race. As when as Bonnie makes a mistake going through senior corner. I don't think he got a tap going into there, but unless he just got himself caught on those yellow sausage curbs on the inside of the corner as he comes into the pits. Is it from wing damage? Which is really struggling on those tyres. Very early on for Bonnie to be struggling that much. What tyres is the Mercedes going to go to? So he's had a mediums. And he is committed to a two-stop. Meanwhile, we've got Rigby going side by side. The AlphaTauri of Adam. Rigby just unable to make the move. Now he's got Mr. Silence looking on the back of him in the Red Bull. Johnny picks up 3 seconds for exceeding track limits. This time's getting very close to the back of Rigby through very slow part of the track. And coming onto the back straight. DRS enabled, and it's a pretty simple move for the Red Bull to get past the Williams. And this one's back up into P9. You know, we've got Kevin and Martinelli having a little bit of a scrap. These guys have cost themselves quite a bit of time to Adam behind them. And falling away somewhat from the cars in front. Into this, we've got Jack on those mediums doing a very good job as into the pits comes Miles in the Ferrari to get rid of those softs. That will probably be for mediums as well. Jack into P3 and Johnny up into P4. As Johnny runs slightly wide at turn 2. As Kevin picks up another 3 seconds for exceeding track limits. The pit window is now open for those soft tyres. To get rid of them, they will be very worn already at this stage of the race. You know, on board with Johnny. Is he going to try and attack the McLaren in front? No, he's not. He's going to sit behind the McLaren. Probably knows he's coming into the pits on this lap anyway, so he doesn't really need to attack him. So go for the tyres. The two leaders' tyres looking fairly okay. Have Mr. Silence and Martinelli getting very close. Someone's desperately trying to recover the positions. We lost due to that incident earlier on. We didn't quite see. As Lars just came into the pits, as has Johnny, so TJW will take the lead of the race. As Martinelli and Johnny also both come into the pit lane. As does Kevin, so they're all pitting on this lap to get rid of those tyres. I think Kevin's going to get held, which he does. So Mr. Silence came in on the same lap as Johnny, so he's been held up by the game, holding it for a little longer. Rigby picks up 3 seconds. Now, what tyres have all of these guys gone to? So I think all of them have gone to the medium as Johnny comes out side by side with Bonnie. And very close down towards turn 3. Is Mercedes going to try and look down the inside to think better of it, does Bonnie? Yeah, everyone who pitted then has came out on mediums apart from Martinelli, who decided to put on another set of soft compound tyres. So decided to go a bit more aggressive. So that leaves TJW being the only person who started inside the top 10 left to pit. So that will mean the net running order will be Jack ahead of Rigby. It's a very sizable lead for Jack at the moment in this race. Nearly 12 seconds. And it's Evan Trocker just behind the Williams of Rigby. But just behind them is Lars on the fresh medium tyres. CW is now finally getting rid of those softs at the end of lap 7. And TJW does go for the hard compound tyres, so he is confident that he can go to the end of the race on the one stop. So that should present him with the net race lead once everyone makes their final pit stops. He's currently 4 seconds behind Lars in the AlphaTauri. Lars is now beginning to get held up by the two Scots in front of him. Lars, we want to make these moves quickly for Lars without getting any damage. And see, I think Lars is trying to look for the move on Eamon Trocker, who's also trying to look for the move on Rigby. As the Ferrari and the Williams nearly go side by side. Lars thinks better of getting involved in that scrap. And now coming off the chicane. Has another look. They can't go. Slash backs out of it. I was about to say, surely they can't go 3 wide into there. Which Lars clearly knew. And again backed out of it and is getting held up a lot here is Lars. Losing vital time to Jack, who's in the lead, and again Lars just unable to find a gap to get past Rigby. Is he going to look into the final corner? No, he just can't do it. And again Rigby just having so slow on the apex in the Williams. Well, can he get it done down towards turn 1? Can Lars? It's just not getting close enough to the Williams, and he just cannot make his way by. Again, Rigby, is he going to cover off the inside? Superb defending this from Rigby for the past half a lap to hold Lars up, but it's just costing Lars a huge chunk of time. I think Rigby's just missed out on DRS. The yellow flags as there is a Red Bull backwards, and I think it's Johnny in the Red Bull's backwards. And focus on Lars instead. Into the chicane. Once again, Rigby again still defending, and Rigby manages to keep hold of the position, but doesn't get the best of exits. And now, I think, now Lars is finally, after a lap and a half, being stuck behind Rigby and the Williams, gets the move done. Now he has to think about getting the move done on Eamon Trocker and the Ferrari. But in all of that, he's lost 2 full seconds to TJW, who is on a 1-stop in this race. And Lars' race getting really hurt by this traffic, and it's just 2 cars. We were just scrapping away, and he had to get involved in it, but he's immediately looking for the move on Eamon Trocker, and he gets it done with relative ease past the Ferrari. Lars is back up into 2nd place, just under 15 seconds off the lead. It's a big gap to make up if Lars wants to take that first win of the season. Battles on track 2, Mercedes getting quite close to each other. Bonnie and Kevin. I mean, Kevin currently holds the fastest lap of this race, which he does with 33.2. Is Bonnie going to be close enough to his teammate to have a challenge into the chicane? Don't think he will be. He's not going to be as well. TJW's managed to get very close to Rigby, and TJW's using that overtake which he has saved up. Makes a very simple move on Rigby. Made it look a lot easier than what it had to be for Lars. It's looking good for TJW at the moment. Let's see how quickly can he clear Emmentrocker again. Quite significant lockups from the Haas. As Johnny picks up another 3 seconds. The gap at the front only came down by about 2/10 of a second, so Jack in the lead doing a superb job. To reduce how much Lash is gaining. He's coming down quite a bit now. Through the corners. See, here is TJW gaining on the Ferrari, not using any overtake, this is just purely DRS. Getting right up onto the back of the Ferrari. Is he going to go for the move in the same place where he went for it on Rigby? Overtake mode engaged. Pulls out from behind the Ferrari, pulls ahead of the Ferrari, and is up into P3. Now he can focus on conserving those hard compound tyres and getting to the end of this race. And hopefully as well making sure that if Lash does manage to catch up after his second pit stop, he has the tyres to fight. Not any more battles. Mr. Silence getting very close to the back of Martinoli. Of course, Mr. Silence got held up in the pit lane. Double stacking with Johnny as he has a massive slide out the final corner, and it actually allows Johnny to get by his teammate. Going into turn 1, can Johnny make the move on Martinoli? He's not close enough. As Kevin picks up his third penalty for exceeding track limits in just 12 laps. We have a battle between Miles and Rigby. Of course, Miles has already made his first pit stop, gets past Rigby. A bit of aggression, we've got Kevin as well trying to get involved. It's all getting a bit close for comfort in the battle for P5. And coming out of chicane, is Kevin going to be able to get close enough to Rigby to maybe have a go? He's getting very close to the back of the Williams. He's not quite able to get close enough as Johnny had a go at Martinoli, unable to make the move on the Renault. As Johnny gets a very nice exit out of the Bosses. There's just no room to make a move there. He's got Jack and Emmentrocker into the pits, as is Rigby. So they're all now getting rid of those medium tyres they started the race on and throwing on the hards. We have some yellow flags for Mercedes, and it's Kevin who's been spun round. Has he got any damage? No, he's not got any damage. I'll just notice as well, Lash picked up a 3-second penalty, so that's going to make it even harder for Lash to win this race. He's definitely not going to be able to get to the end. He's got to make another pit stop. Luckily for Lash, most of the people still do have to make another pit stop in this race. He's ahead of all the people who just came in. And TJW looking in a very strong position at the moment, as is Jack and the McLaren, who's right behind Miles in the Ferrari. On fresh hards compared to 7-lap old mediums. Can he get by the Ferrari quickly? They get into some clean air to maybe chase after TJW and the Haas. We've got Mr. Silence and the two Red Bulls, and Martin only got 3 wide for the first few corners. Big wheel banging, and as both Red Bulls muscle their way past the Renault on the softs. Mr. Silence don't quite think Mr. Silence saw Johnny going for that move as he went for the move on the Renault and just ended up forcing his teammate off at turn 2. Might have got a track limit warning for that as well, or Johnny. I imagine that will get removed if he did. But he's going to try and come back at his teammates. And the 2 Red Bulls. And Johnny superbly around the outside chicane makes a move. Martinelli's going to try and get involved again. They come through Senior. Amazingly, have not managed to spin anyone off as well. Adam in the AlphaTauri is now looking to get involved in this brilliant scrap over P7. So you have Martinelli who's diving into the pits to get rid of those softs of speed in the pit lane. Oh, this Martinelli, this will surely be for a set of mediums to go to the end of this race for the Renault, and it is a set of mediums to go to the end of the race, and he comes out in P12. And the front gap at the front is remaining rather consistent between Larsh and TJW. TJW doing an excellent job keeping the pace up. They will see him comfortably round. Net pit loss time around he was around about 30 seconds, so it's going to be right about 25 seconds in the lead once Larsh makes that pit stop. And Larsh has the 3-second time penalty, so this is going to be really difficult for Larsh to make up the time on TJW to win this race. I've got Jack in the DRS of Miles down the pit straight and staring at the back of the rear wing of that Ferrari for a few laps now. There's the McLaren, just unable to find a way by. Miles was very wide out of 10-2. That will be another track limit warning for the Ferrari. These guys running just ahead of the 2 Mercedes of Bonnie and Kevin. And then there is a 5-second gap back to the 2 Red Bulls of Johnny and Mr. Silence. Rugby picks up another 3 seconds. So penalties at the moment. So Larsh has 3 seconds. TJW has no penalties. Miles has 3. Jack has 6. Bonnie has 3. Kevin has 9. Johnny has 6. Mr. Silence has none. Adam has 3. Evan Trocker has 3. Rigby has 6, Martinelli has 11, Father has 8, and Cunningham has 14. I think one at the moment is from Mr. Silence down in P8. I think what's going to be his saving grace at the moment is that he doesn't have any penalties compared to the people in front of him who do. Just needs to close up on them a bit. Into the pits comes Miles for his second pit stop. Bonnie follows him in. So Kevin obviously has to stay out. Both Red Bulls stay out. That promotes Jack up into P3. Net P2. Maybe as well, Jack was ahead of most of those who still had one more pit stop to make in this race. It is a superb job to overcut all of them. See, Miles came out in P8 and Bonniers came out in P9, so they have fell back a quite fair distance due to that pit stop. And they've lost around about 20 seconds, I think, at minimum. Jack is nearly 5 tenths up on his personal best now that he has clear air. And back towards the battle between two Red Bulls. Silence and Johnny putting on a bit of a show so far. The two Red Bulls. I don't want it to end like it did back here in 2018 though. To these two. I'm pretty sure these two are leading the constructors' standings, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they are. They are leading the constructors' stand. They do have quite a healthy margin of 37 points. As Lars and Kevin are into the pits. So they do have a fairly big margin to the two Red Bulls. And with Lars up in P1, who's going to get quite a big haul of points on them, as Lars came out of the pits just behind them. Of course, these two still do have to make their second pit stop, because Lars is now done with all of his pit stops. As Kevin came out behind his teammate. I think Kevin was ahead of Bonnie, so Bonnie might have just pulled an undercut on his teammate there. Sounds getting very close to Johnny on this lap. No, two Red Bulls once again going side by side in this race. Mr. Silence into the chicane, gets it slowed down, gets the move done on Johnny, and is up into P3. I think when he comes out the pits, I think Mr. Silence is going to come out in P10 or P11. He's going to come out round about where Martinoli is. So yeah, might end up coming out outside of the points here. In the Championship League, they're just not having the best of afternoons. Just stuck in battles I don't think he wants to be in at the moment. Especially when his Championship rival is just 8 tenths behind him and there's a full pit stop ahead of him. So into the pits comes... That's Johnny. Johnny gets first call out of the two Red Bulls coming to the pits as Bada made a small mistake coming out of the chicane. They look to the back to the front, so TW now leads by 7.3 seconds over Jack and P2. And Jack still has 10 seconds in hand over Larsh. However, Jack does have 3 more seconds than the AlphaTauri. As Johnny came to the pitch, Johnny comes out in P11, so he came out behind Martinoli. However, Johnny is on fresh softs. As Larsh has got past Mr. Silence, and this one extra lap that Mr. Silence is having to stay out because of Johnny coming into the pits might hurt him here. They're getting undercut by his teammate. Because we've got two Ferraris. Miles has got past LN Trocker for P5. And Johnny has got immediately past Martinoli for P10, so Johnny up into the points. This car for him will be Rigby just ahead, who is on 6-lap-old hard. You would imagine that Johnny's going to close up very quickly as Jack in P2 picks up his third penalty, so he's now up at 9 seconds. So he's not going to be troubling P1. I mean, he's now going to be focused on trying to keep the gap to Larsh in P3 to try and hold on to P2. So Mr. Silence again, Mr. Silence chose not to come into the pits. I think Mr. Sands might be just trying to goal hang for a safety car at this stage, as Kevin sets the fastest lap of the race, as Rigby is retired in the pit lane, I think. I think he's accepted he's not going to get much more out of this race. So you've got two Mercedes now beginning to swarm on the back of Trocker, who is going to be significantly slower on those hards. He's got a lot of DRS to play with, however. Bonnie with the DRS. Is Bonnie able to make the move? He's pulling alongside the Ferrari. Into the chicane. Can't quite do it. Kevin, the other Mercedes, was very deep into the corner. As Bonnie picks up 3 seconds in the middle of all of that. And they're just not quite able to get past the Ferrari. On this lap, Bonnie is having a look now into Labose. He's really good if he can get that move done from Bonnie. It's got a long way. And he's going to go the long way round, and he's going to get it done. There's Bonnie, superb move. And Kevin follows his teammate through, and then taps back for his teammate and goes for a half spin. There's Kevin in the Mercedes. Mr. Santos finally came into the pits. And the Red Bull slaps on a new set of softs, and he's going to come out outside the point, I think, is Mr. Silent, so maybe in P10. As Johnny sets the fastest lap, as Mr. Silent comes out in P9. So you could probably get an extra point snatching the fastest lap away from his teammate. But on those fresh softs, can Mr. Silence put in good enough laps on those fresh softs to get within the window to jump most of those cars with penalties? Because they're not that far ahead. You know, Miles in P4 is only going through. He's only just coming out of the chicane. Mr. Sands is coming into it, so it's not the worst gap to make up. And Kevin is recovering from that half spin to try and get past Trocker, of course, though Kevin is on 9 seconds worth of time penalties at the moment. Trocker doing a very good job on the one stop. Is the second highest place driver on it. It's quite a long way though, however, off Jack, as Kevin goes for the move and gets it done. It's quite a long way. He's going to try and come back, but he is quite a significant way off Jack in P2, who's also on that one stop. So see Jack doing a superb job in the McLaren on his first reserve outing to be in P2 after starting outside of the top 10. As Johnny has now also got past Trocker, and will be Mr. Silent, who is next up to get past the Ferrari, who's beginning on those hards just to fade away. Mr. Silence on this lap as well, looking to try and take the fastest lap, as Kevin picks up another 3 seconds. That takes him up to 12. So the Silence was slightly wide through Labose. It's not got long to try and get within the penalty range of these guys in front. You imagine being where he is in the standings, he will be trying his absolute hardest. It's not going to be enough to take the title today, but as many points as he can get puts him ever closer to it, as he doesn't take the fastest lap away from Johnny. He's a full second and a half off it. And Johnny set a lap that doesn't seemingly look like Johnny's fastest lap is going to get beaten unless someone pits for softs at the very end. Mr. Silence pulls out from behind the back of Trocker and makes a pretty simple move on the Ferrari. Is up into P8. Now has a 2-second gap to close to his teammate Johnny. Got Lars. Lars is still been gaining as Lars on the top two, but he's still 7.5 seconds off the lead with a 3-second penalty, so he's not going to be able to gain 7.5 seconds in just 4 laps and then build 3 seconds while getting past 2 cars. He picks up another 3 seconds, actually does Lars. That might, or I imagine that has basically just given TJW the win in the Haas in the lead, providing he doesn't get a puncher, which he could do on those hards. It's still a long way to take them. We're back to Mercedes getting fairly close. Kevin looking for a move on Bonnie. Not quite doing into turn 3. He's going to be very close coming out of turn 6 onto the Mistral straight. And DRS and Amord overtake on briefly. He's gaining on his teammates. He's looking to the inside of his teammates. They make small contact and Kevin manages to gather it together, but he's now in the clutches of Johnny and the Red Bull. And Johnny just unable to find any gap to get through. See, what is the order going to look like at the moment? So, actually at the moment, Mr. Silence down in P8. Mr. Silence is going to actually take P4 in this race. He's close enough to all those people in front of him. It would be Miles in P5, Bonnie P6, Johnny would stay P7 and Kevin would drop to P8. As almost Silence actually picks up a 3-second time penalty for running wide. That changes it a bit. As well, Lars has gone wide, cuts the chicane, forces Jack off the track. It's again a bit argy-bargy for P2. Lars, can he get by? He's not able to get by the McLaren. There's Lars, and again Lars getting frustrated trying to overtake people. It's not going his way. Making these overtakes. He's going to look into the final corner. No, he's not. And coming out to the final corner, is he close enough to maybe have a go into turn 1? Jack trying to break the toe. Lars is later on the brakes, but just can't get his nose far enough ahead into the braking zone. Again, just going to have to follow through this slow section. As Miles picks up another 3-second penalty, that's going to send him behind Bonnie come the end of this race. See Lars, can he finally make the move? Lars finally gets up into P2 on the road. Now can he stay there? Jack has got a very good exit. Is he going to try and challenge his TJW in the lead? Picks up his first penalty. Results in every single driver now having at least 3 seconds as Jack just understeers through the Bose, unable to really stay to the back of Lars through this final sector on the older tyres. And Kevin on the back of Bonnie. Mr. Sands looking on the as well on the back of Johnny. Again, these guys just really have just stuck how they were for the whole of this final stint. So they have now started the final lap of the leaders. It's going to be interesting to see how all this shuffles out. Sounds close enough to go for a move on Johnny into 10-1. No, not quite. He's going to sit behind Johnny. He knows he's going to get him on penalties. There's no point risking his front wing at this stage. He knows he's going to get Kevin as well. I think he's just about going to get Bonnie. He's going to get Miles as well. So Mr. Sands might just get P4 here if he can just stay within 3 seconds of Bonnie and the Mercedes in P5. What will help him is that the two Mercedes are having a little bit of a battle. As Mr. Sands has got past Johnny on the final lap, Kevin has also got past Bonnie on the final lap. They've left it late to get past their teammates, but they have done it late on. And cut back though to TJW and the Haas. Started P3. Went for the one stop from soft to hards. Only one who risked it. He's going to make it work. For the first win of the season, TJW wins in France. Very superb strategy. Lars just can't convert the pole position into the win. It's P2 for him. Jack is P3 on his debut. Then it's going to be a long wait back for Miles, who's going to cross the line in P4. But he's going to drop behind Bonnie, who's just promoted to P4. Mr. Silence in the end is promoted to P4 after finishing P7 on track. Bonnie is P5, Miles drops to P6, Johnny remains P7, Kevin drops to 8th, and then Trocker finishes in 9th. Martinoli picks up the final point. No, he doesn't. Adam in the AlphaTauri picks up the final point. Martinoli ends up 11th. Cunnington will come round the final corner to finish 12th. Will he? No, I think Bader's just going to get him on penalties. Is the McLaren. Cunnington crosses the line in P12. Bader on the run to the line. Takes that P12 away from Cunnington, but is TJW in the Haas for the first time in season 3 on the top step of the podium, and it's not the biggest chunk, but it's something to take away as he closes the gap. I think the gap now to Mr. Silence will be 33 points. Yeah, the gap is 33 points now. On the top of the standings, Lars finishes in P2. Again, just can't convert that pole. Jack, on his debut, very strong result from P11, makes the alternative strategy work, and his driver of the day. Superb performance from him. Mr. Silence, P4, could have taken the title today, still got 2 opportunities to do it. Bonnie, P5, Miles, P6, Johnny, P7, Kevin, disappointing after being on the front row to finish P8, Emma and Trocker, P9, and Adam picking up the final point. Martinoli, Bader, Cunnington, Miss Out, and Rigby and Team Kill are the 2 DNFs. So thank you everyone for watching. We've got 2 races left around Canada and Austria. make sure to watch F3 and F2 if you can. That's all from me. Goodbye.